Hello and welcome to You and Me Creamery. My name is Delaney Drake. I am the head farmer here at the creamery. I milk the sheep and I make the dairy products. And today I wanted to dive in a little bit deeper into one of the questions I seem to be getting a lot. Last week we talked about kind of the top three questions I get. And this was one of them. And I just wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive into this particular question because it's one I get an awful lot. A lot of people who have stomach issues and can't do goat or cow or either don't like the taste of goat are a little hesitant to try sheep's milk. They're thinking it might taste the same. They think it might upset their stomach in a similar way. So they're hesitant to dive in all the way because they don't know what it tastes like. And believe me, I understand this absolutely. I was someone who didn't even realize you could milk sheep until a few years ago. So before we even bought sheep, before I even thought about milking, I was like, I need to know what it tastes like. I need to know that it doesn't upset my stomach, and I need to know that I don't hate it. So I totally understand the question, and so I wanted to just kind of hop on here and talk a little bit about what it tastes like and kind of some of the components that make sheep's milk so special. And if you guys have any questions while you're watching this, either live or after, please comment below. I will try to answer them as much as I can. I have gotten a lot of feedback from other dairy sheep farmers because I wanted some sort of consensus from everybody on, what do they hear back from what other people say about their sheep's milk, what do they personally feel about it. I didn't want you guys just to take my personal perspective on it because it's not all encompassing, right? Everybody has their own opinion, everybody has their own taste buds, so I wanted to definitely dive in to my perspective, but as well as get a lot of other people's too. So I will be checking periodically to see if there are any comments. But for now, I'll just hop on in and get started. So a lot of people equate sheep's milk with goat's milk. And before I get into any of this, I do not knock goat's milk at all. One of the things I personally feel very strongly about is not bad-mouthing another animal's milk or putting them down. I honestly feel like it's a matter of personality, a matter of perspective, a matter of taste buds, a matter of your biological chemistry and what your body does that makes one milk better for you than another. So while I definitely hop on here and I will shout out from the rooftops how wonderful I think sheep's milk is, I don't want to knock off cow's milk or goat's milk. They are wonderful in their own way, but a lot of times I notice that people equate goat's milk with sheep's milk, and they're very, very different. So I will be comparing and contrasting the two of them. I just wanted to preface it with I'm not bad-mouthing goat's milk. I have some wonderful goat herds who are my friends, who I've talked to, who I've learned a lot from, and so they're wonderful, and just wanted to kind of lay the foundation that even though I'm comparing, there's some wonderful recipes, wonderful cheeses, wonderful things that come from goat as well. I just personally physically can do sheep's milk, and I think sheep's milk tastes amazing. So the consensus that I got from a lot of people was that sheep's milk tastes very similar to half and half that you'd buy at the store. I think a lot of people equated it to Jersey milk without the cream removed, and I have not tasted straight Jersey, like raw Jersey milk, so I'm going to take their word for it, but they do equate it to that. A lot of people have, and this just hits home with me especially, is the little creamers, the little cup of creamers that you add to that you find at Starbucks or any coffee house that you add to your coffee. It's very similar to that. I personally don't drink coffee, but I grew up with a mom who loved creamers in her coffee. And so we always used to joke with her, oh, you want a little coffee with your creamer? Because her coffee would be like a really, really light brown, and she just dunked a whole bunch of creamer in. So if you're one of those people, either who grew up with someone like that or who does do that, those little creamer cups are very similar to what sheep's milk tastes like. I personally say it's really, really sweet and creamy. I personally got into sheep's milk because I love ice cream. And when I make ice cream with the sheep's milk, it adds a little bit of extra sweetness. Like I find I don't have to add as much sugar because the milk itself is just so, it brings out those kind of tastes for me. The other thing that people have mentioned, and I'll explain this a little bit more, is that they said that a lot of people equate it with like melted ice cream. And of course, my mind as a person who loves ice cream, I'm like, well, it wouldn't taste like mint ice cream, and it wouldn't taste like, you know, like cookies and cream. So I'm like, I think what they mean by it tastes like melted ice cream is if you had an ice cream base that doesn't have a ton of vanilla, that's not super strong vanilla like the French vanilla ice cream. If you just took an ice cream base and it was left on the counter or something and it melted, you'd have what we would think of as sheep's milk. It is a little thicker, and it also has a bit of the sweetness that a lot of people will use, like a little bit of that sugaryness that people would use in an ice cream base. So I wanted to kind of touch on the ice cream one specifically, but also talking about like the creamers and the half and half. The reason that sheep's milk is a little thicker and what a lot of people think of as creamy or creamier is the fact that it is naturally homogenized. So that is a very long way and technical term to say that the cream is really incorporated into the milk itself. So if you know anything about cow's milk, and I'll try to explain this in all sorts of levels, from the beginner person who doesn't know very much to kind of the people who are used to milk, the people who've done herd shares and have had raw milk. So if you have something like raw cow's milk, what you will do is you get a big gallon, it's huge, of raw milk. You'll stick in the fridge. Within a day or two, you get a really, really nice, thick layer of cream. And you'll notice it's a different color. Oftentimes when you scoop it out, it is super thick, a lot thicker than it would just be incorporated. I'll have to do some videos showing you how we do that with sheep's milk. And so cow's milk is not naturally homogenized, so it separates a lot easier. For sheep's milk, it doesn't separate as well. It does separate, you can do it, but it usually takes about 6 to 7 days, maybe even a little longer depending on the type of sheep you have. We have sheep that are specifically dairy sheep, so we end up with pretty good, in a quarter of a gallon mason jar, you'll get about that much. Which, when you think of the animal and the size, it usually makes sense that the milk itself would be smaller, the cream line would be smaller. To really, really pull out the cream from your sheep's milk, a lot of people will use a cream separator. It's this big machine that you pour the milk in, and it separates the fat globules in the cream from the actual milk. I personally am not a huge fan of the milk itself when it's skimmed. It does take a little bit of the sweetness away. I tasted it and I'm like, oh, it tastes a little like watered down milk, which I think a lot of people think of when they think of skimmed milk for cows. So, and just hold on a second, I'm realizing I'm a little out of focus. There we go. But anyway, so I don't particularly like to skim it unless I'm making butter. You skim it to make mozzarella. And so, like, unless I had a purpose for making cheese or butter, I usually don't skim off the cream. I like the sheep's milk with the cream incorporated. But I wanted to kind of explain why it's creamier than goat or cow. and sort of why it's kind of unique in the fact that it is naturally homogenized and it's a lot sweeter and it's a lot creamier. It is thicker, but like I said, if you get the top cream line off, that's the really, really thick part. So if you separate it, you'll get really, really thick cream. If it's just incorporated into the milk, it's not as, you can taste it as thicker, but it's not like, big giant scoops of like butter or something. It's basically, it's just like milk. It's just a little bit thicker, if that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to mention is that goat's milk is also naturally homogenized, but someone described it to me in a certain way, and I wanted to explain it because I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So sheep's milk is special and unique from goat's milk in the fact that you can agitate it and it still holds its structure. A lot of times, if you agitate goat's milk in any way, the globules, the fat globules, will start to kind of break down. That kind of happens when you freeze goat's milk and then you thaw. You can't really use it again to make cheese. I'm sure there's other things you couldn't do with it, but like goat's milk just doesn't freeze well if you're planning to do stuff like cheese. Whereas sheep's milk, you can freeze and rethaw, and still be able to use cheese, or still be able to make cheese out of it. You can still make ice cream. There's a whole lot of other things you can do with it because the fat globules don't break down when they're agitated. And I just thought that was a really unique aspect between goat and sheep. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything. That covers kind of the texture, the taste, kind of the components of what's in sheep's milk and why it works the way it does, and why it's different than any other milk. A lot of people, go, well, I don't like goat's milk, so I'm hesitant to try sheep's milk. And I'm like, it doesn't taste like it doesn't taste like goat's milk. Goat is different than sheep, and they're just, a lot of people will kind of think of them as the same, and they're really not. They kind of eat some things that are different, so their milk will taste different. Milk also tastes different depending on what pasture you're in. And I just wanted to share that with other people and to let them know that it tastes really, really good. And if you are interested in any of our sheep's milk, we have 2 ways of acquiring it. We can't sell it. In Tennessee, you can't sell raw sheep's milk or raw milk. The 2 ways we can do it is a herd share, and that is a continual pickup, either weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly pickup. And then we are going to be certified to sell pet food. That's it. If you want to find out more, you can email me at youandmehomestead.creamery@gmail.com. Once again, that's EWE, so you and me homestead.creamery@gmail.com. You can also message me on Facebook and just ask your questions, as well as if you want to start participating in our herd share, you can ask questions about that, and you can get started on your sheep milk journey, and I would love to help you with that. So have a great day, and I will talk to you guys next week.